lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Ranty, Sleeping Warrior, The Plain Truth, Earth Flattener, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Hola. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Alright, I'm going to rattle through housekeeping real quick. So, I know, Ranty, you've got stuff to get to, so I'm going to do it as quick as I can, but don't cut off the question. Don't cut the questions. Don't cut the questions, though. So, any signs of curvature?
Nope.
Any signs of axial rotation?
Nope.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope. No.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Negative.
Any verified measurements of the distance to the Sun?
Nope.
Back. Evidence of gas pressure without a container?
No.
Finally, the presupposition itself. Any evidence of R, Earth radius, gentlemen?
Nope. Oh. No.
Right, excellent. Let's move straight over to you then, Ranty. I know you've been talking about a challenge that's been laid down by Ruhif, so maybe you can detail what that is if you understand it fully, and then tell us what you're...
I don't understand it fully because I've literally just been told about it. Perhaps the plain truth, you could walk me through it again, exactly what it is?
Basically, without the specific details, he's given you a geographical location and a set of windmills out in the water. He's also, I think, recommended to you a theodolite that you should use in your observations. But then he's asking you at the end to make a prediction of what you think you are going to see based on the fact that you know the distance, you know the height, and whatnot, which seems to be reminiscent of his earlier video that he made when he displayed his predictions of two different locations and was pretty much spot on, and says that his predictions are reflective that there is a curve.
Oh, so he's saying his predictions are of curvature. So his cause is curve. In other words, the obstruction that he's seeing is caused by curvature, and he was able to predict that. Sounds kind of sciencey. So in science, you have something very similar. It's called a prediction, a scientific prediction. Now that's got another name. It's called a hypothesis, and it establishes, a bit like Ruhif's trying to establish, cause. So he's trying to find out the cause. His assertions is Earth curve, right? Well, in science, you can validate that with a scientific prediction. The cause, in your instance, being Earth curve. So, is it a scientific prediction that we're making here, Ruhif, or is it a Nostradamus prediction? A Mystic Meg prediction? You can have a little look at the lines on someone's hand and then make an extrapolation from that. Or is it scientific? I'm sure Ruhif will let us know.
I have an issue with the video that I watched Ruhif do. I'm not going to play it, but I will pause it on the image that he's presented. Have you got me up, Nath?
I do.
So this is him with his theodolite, and he said that he took this image from, he gives some details of his location, the equipment he used, etc., etc., and he shows this image, right? And he's obviously saying that the green line is where the flat horizon would be if he was on a flat Earth. The red line, the blue line, they're different, you know, for the curved Earth and etc., etc. But this is the only evidence that he provides. This is it in its entirety. He doesn't show the video, the image being taken. He doesn't show any video footage. He just presents this image with the crosshairs in, right? Now, anybody could do this. Literally, you could put a crosshair anywhere in this image. Am I right, Nathan? And say this is what it should be.
Not exactly the most... It's not like what you do, let's put it that way.
And I called him out on it. And I said, I'm sorry, but I can't look at this critically and say, well, how can I validate that this image was taken exactly how you say it was? There's nothing that says that this is an accurate representation of what you did.
It's unfortunate. Sorry to interrupt. It's unfortunate for Ruhif because a year ago, this was the standard that we presented, and what you got was the same exact criticisms you're now giving him from ballers. So flat earthers would present this and go, look, this proves it's flat. And they go, well, how can we even accept it? We don't know where you are. You haven't given us the barometric pressure. You've not given us your altitude. You've not shown us GPS locations. You've not twiddled the camera around to prove that's where you really are. And at the time, I remember you doing it, Auntie, going, what? It's just a photo. Why do I need all that stuff? Now, tables have turned. It's like, no, this isn't the standard, Ruhif. I'm sorry. A year ago, you might have got, well, you probably wouldn't have got away with it on our side. You might have got away with it on your side. But no, not anymore.
Well, I can reverse it. I can reverse this on him. He's essentially saying that he's gone out and he's took this image, and what do you know? It absolutely 100% conforms to the ball model, yeah? Not even close to being the flat Earth. It's the ball. This is the ball Earth prediction, and this is what he went out and he filmed it, and this is his evidence, yeah? One image with some crosshairs in between it. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just reminded of this image of my criticism, and that is this. The green line is the flat Earth prediction. But that would require the object to be much closer and larger. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I was going to get on to the perspective aspects of it, but well segued. Exactly.
Yeah, I never thought of that as well, actually. Yeah, he has omitted perspective as per usual. We can flip this around though, and we can look at things like, let me just move that out of the way. So if he was to ask me to do a prediction, this is obviously the image that I took, and I'll just get rid of all these lines, right? So on this image here, if I was to ask to give a prediction of what I would have seen or what he would have seen, and he was to give a prediction, this is what he would have done. He would have said, well, this, where this red line is now, this is what's going into this is the ball Earth model right there. That's the ball Earth model. That's what I expect to see. If you go to Barrow and you look over at Blackpool, you will only see this portion of the top of the big one. That's what the ball Earth model would be. So I can flip it back on him and say, well, do you know what? I did this in a video, right? I did this in a video, and look at the comparison. It's not even close. You know, we're seeing all of the big one, literally all of the big one. And how does that conform to his ball Earth model? You know, this is a video, not just a still image that he's put some crosshairs on. This is actual footage, actual video photography, where we can compare like for like. You know, flipping it back, what would he predict? He would predict that this is where the curve would be. So I don't understand what his challenge is, really, to be fair. You know, he knows I will go out and I'll just crush him with it.
Okay, let me say this first. So that red line, Ranty, is a I mean, you're just making that up per se, right? That's going to be the curve.
The top of the entire building is 227 feet tall. Essentially, I think there should be 98 feet of curvature. You should only see 98 feet of the top of it. So putting this line in, roughly 98 feet of the top is what we would see on the curve calcs. This is what the curve calcs would say.
According to the curve calcs.
For the whole Earth.
So
yeah,
if you exclude perspective and only take an orthographic account of the world, therefore maintaining actual sizes of things in their feet and inches value, then it would be that. But presumably, when Ruhif's making his comparison, telling us where horizon, he's not factored in any perspective whatsoever into that. And he'll just say, no, I don't need to. His answer will be, I don't need to. I guarantee it.
Yeah, but the problem is that we're looking at something that's still at 90 degrees. So it's not only the fact that there's that much missing, is that the top would be angling away and the angular resolution would be, or the angular measurement the top would be angling away from us. So it would be diminished even then too.
Absolutely.
But we're not. We're looking at something 90 degrees straight up and down.
Yeah, so the one in the top is much closer. So therefore you have a considerably wider viewing angle. The angular resolution of this roller coaster in the top image is vastly bigger than the half a degree that Ranty has caught it in the bottom image. So there is a viewing angle reduction. What's another word for that? Oh, perspective. That would be it. That's not accounted for when they beg the question. When they just assume that they're on a sphere with the curve calculator. Clue is in the title, people. It begs the question. It just assumes you're on a curve to begin with. It's useless. Begging the question fallacy. Perspective omitting curve calc. Anyway, it doesn't account for viewing angle. It doesn't account for perspective.
One other thing I want to say is that also during the day you get things like this. This is a video that I took today. We get this doubling back underneath. You can see it mirroring down on itself. Let me just get it so that we can see. There's the Walney Lighthouse. Now this is off the pier again, 44 feet in elevation. But watch when you come to the buildings of Barrow. Again, they're all doubled down on themselves. You can see when we get to the end of the mountain, I focus on that for a bit, and this is where you can really see how it doubles back on itself. I pause it right there. You know that the mountain itself, it is going on. It is carrying on. It goes further down here, but it is completely being mirrored. The sky is being mirrored back on itself. So this is the refraction line through the entire area. This is all atmosphere. This is essentially atmosphere because this sky doesn't live on this mountain, right? This mountain in the background is real and solid. This sky is clearly an optical effect that's being miraged in front of it, essentially blocking the bottom of this mountain out. We can't see it because the sky's in the way. Well, how can the sky be in the way when the sky's above it? Well, in this image and the video, the sky's below it. So it is causing blockage. This what we're seeing here, this sky, is effectively blocking out the mountain behind it.
Or you've got one major cliff.
Yeah. There's been a load of erosion.
So, I mean, you can't have the sky. How can you have the sky in front of the mountain? The mountain is behind, what you've seen how many times I've gone down and filmed this mountain, right? We see it trails off and it's actually got land that goes all the way across. Now I'm at a 44-foot elevation here. I've filmed it from an inch, right? And I've seen it all. Now we're at 44 feet and look at the blockage, just different atmosphere, different weather conditions. And this mountain and this land that does go along here is completely blocked off by the miraging sky that's being miraged in the atmosphere. So anything that would be on this mountain where my cursor is now, anything along this line, right, would be blocked out by the sky being miraged down on it. And in this case, or when you come over here, it's actually the mountain that's being miraged back down on itself. And that's where when we go further back, we look at the buildings, and the buildings are being miraged back down on themselves. That's why I've got this doubling effect here. So we wouldn't see the bottom of it because it's the atmosphere that's creating this miraging effect.
Coupled with Aries diffraction, a limitation of the viewing angle, which would be pretty consistent. But I think in this instance, yeah, you're right. Because we had this conversation a couple of days ago, and I was like, stop calling it atmospherics. It's Aries diffraction that we're looking at. But lo and behold, you go out and pick one that's going to be that's going to piss all over my bonfire. Well done, Ranty. You got your way in the end. But yeah, Aries diffraction is still part and parcel of what's going on here. You do have a narrowing of the viewing angle down to nothing. So that will always be the case.
The other thing to point out is there is already a challenge on the table. So before Ruif challenges Ranty to do something, when he's already done something and there already is something on the table, perhaps Ruif should come back with the answer to Ranty for why it is we can see the streetlights from 20 miles away if the Pontchartrain nonsense video that shows that we're supposed to be curved is true. Because Ranty should validate that, and he didn't. He failed to validate the Pontchartrain observation. So why is that?
Well, here's something that's interesting. Now, the Plain Truth asked before, he said when he saw the flames of that thing in the distance, the complex in the distance, right? He said, how come we don't see the bottom of it? Yeah, but we see the flames. Well, if you look at this and you predict, okay, anything that's below this, you're not going to see it because it's being blocked by the atmosphere. But the flames, so essentially the flames that are like 200 feet tall, start at 200 feet or essentially that height, you can see them because they're above the refraction zone. So it's not being miraged down on itself. So anything that's in that zone is going to be hidden, the same as the complex. I might show you that video. You have it.
Diffraction zone.
So it's the same here. So when we look at this image, I'm just going to pause it there. And you can see the flames, but can you also see the sky underneath it? It's exactly the same. The sky underneath it is the blockage. It's the atmosphere that's blocking out that complex. Forget the fact that we shouldn't even see the flames anyway, because they should be long gone behind the curve calcs, right? The actual blockage is the atmosphere, the narrowing of the angle that's causing this mirage in this mirroring layer to repeat the sky, essentially blocking out that entire oil rig. The same as the mountain. It's exactly the same as the mountain.
Hey, Apollo.
Hey.
So that's what I just wanted to show you anyway.
Thank you, Renty. Awesome as ever.
No worries. Well, I'm just trying to understand the optics. You know, I'm just trying to understand the optics over water, and I think all the footage that I've been doing, we are getting there eventually. We're slowly understanding it. You know, we're not looking at things anymore and thinking, oh, that looks like curvature. No, we're starting to understand the environment. Repeated observations and exploring the possibilities. We're actually getting the answers. What can we do for you, Apollo?
Oh, not much. Just joining in to listen.
Fair enough. What was the main topic of this show so far?
Scientific predictions.
Yeah,
Apparently.
predictions as opposed to model-based Mystic Meg predictions. Crystal ball predictions.
Well, it's probably no wonder that I've seen this. He only put this challenge out 13 hours ago, so I'll probably get around to watching it and see what he's got in store. But I don't really think I need to jump to his tune. He should be starting to jump to my tune, really.
Well, you've gone out, you've put the graft in, you've got plenty of observations that are, you know, for us as flat earthers, you go, there's the building, there's the boat, there's this, there's that, and you don't have to do anything else. Whereas for them, there's a whole load of work needs doing, right, to affirm their ball religion. So why aren't they doing it? They're just going to move past the ones that don't work on their ball.
And that leads you to the next natural logical question. Why does Occam's razor not apply? The conclusion with the least amount of assumptions is most likely to be correct. Why is Occam's razor dismissed when it comes to us?
Do you want to see where that concert was held today?
Guys
Well,
not want
a couple of days ago.
the curve calcs to be brought up anymore. Almost like they don't use them anymore. They don't.
Hello?
Yeah, they don't want to use them no more because they've been obliterated. Because you've only got to peel back. Oh, we got up there, Auntie. You've
This
only
is
got
where
to peel
the
back the
concert
onion
was.
a couple of layers and you realise that it's missing some pretty crucial elements that we experience in life. I.e., it's not a perspective view, it's an orthographic view. Maintaining actual sizes of stuff. So, you know, you've got the Wiggles reaction, which is what it'll be dubbed from now on. You know, put up the curve calcs right on the day that we were exposing this to the audience. And he's got the calcs on screen, and I think it was Anthony who's like, where's perspective accounted for in this? And within a heartbeat, the maths are off the screen. Whooshum, gone.
And then he wouldn't literally, even when demanded, he wouldn't bring it back up on screen. But prior to that, he was telling us how he'd done all his calculations and how it supports the blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what about perspective? Removed.
Yeah, I'm just showing you where they had the concert in front of the tower that I filmed from Barrow. So you've obviously got the sea wall here. This is the sea wall right there. And this is the concert lights, those lights that were flashing, that was making the patterns in the distance. That's what we were capturing.
I've never seen a stage like that before. That's a weird stage.
It is. It is.
Looks like a giant windbreak. You're pegging to the beach.
Well, I think they put all these up, obviously for the occasion. You know, when over the next couple of days they'll take all these down, all these windbreaks. You'll still be left with these structures. They're there all the time, but the actual fabric was obviously put up to keep the the people that are performing from getting blown away, because quite often you can get really bad winds around here.
Oh, okay. So it's temporary then. I thought the whole thing was put up for the concert, but okay. So the structures that are there, those bent concrete lampposts, they'll stay. Permanent fixture.
Yeah, and these lights that are on it, all these lights, these 6 lights on each one, they were the ones that were flashing. That we're seeing, and there's the water. Obviously, there's the seawall, and it is right outside of Blackpool Tower. So I went along to actually get a measurement above sea level of a 2-meter tide as to what these lights would have been at when I filmed them from, I think it was 16.7 miles away or in that region. And it was 56 feet. That's the height that I got. So when I actually caught the concert, these lights that were flashing, 56 feet above sea level. And one thing you have to remember is that anything beneath that you wouldn't have seen anyway, because just beneath that you've just got the sea wall, the sand, and the sea, and that wouldn't have lit up. There was no lights on there. So everything that should have been seen, all the flashing lights, all the illuminations, Blackpool Tower, everything was exactly how you'd have expected to have seen it across a flat plane. These lights, 56 feet above sea level. I think the curve calcs are 128 feet, so I believe. So they've got quite a lot of missing curve to find there.
Yeah, I'll stress it again. So those feet and inches measurements are actual sizes, and we don't see things in their actual size. The angular resolution is what should be accounted for. It's ignored. But obviously, the angular size of things decreases the further you get away from it.
This is me just getting the tape measure off, and I actually throw it off I throw the tape measure down. There we go. I've weighted it down, so I've got an accurate measure. There's a tide. So that was a 3-meter tide. I've got 44 feet on the tape, but that's up to the railings. And I know that where my feet are the height of where the bandstand was. So I had to knock 4 feet off, because I measure in a minute. I get down to 4 feet. So I know that's at 40 feet. Then I add 3. Then I take 2 off because of the the wave on the actual tape, and I got down to the measurement, knowing that that was 56 feet above sea level, those lights. So that's how I actually got to doing the measurement. I might put all this out as a video, actually.
So again, so you've got these measurements, and it means that it is cohesive, if that's the right word, with the curve calculations where they're taking an actual size. But as you can see, that size is only relevant when Ranty's standing on top of it with a tape measure, because you don't see things in feet and inches, you get angular sizes of things. And essentially the curve calcs have hijacked the angular size relationships and turned them into curve and obstruction and things that don't really exist. We only experience perspective, we never experience curvature. There is no measurable curvature. No one will ever show you measured curve. There isn't one.
No. But I've gone back to validate this because I know that people will be asking, oh, you can't really be accurate to tell us what height above sea level all these things were and things like this. So
I wouldn't worry about that. Just ask them, well, what's the angular size of it? Let's see where your calculator works with that. Oh, it doesn't, does it? It just works with feet and inches, actual sizes. That's interesting. Why would it do that? That's not real world. That's not how we see things. Oh, right, because it manages to substitute curve for the thing I'm asking where it is. I.e., why isn't there any perspective calculations being done? Why isn't it accounting for angular size? That's how you see things at distance. You don't see their feet and inches size. That's nonsense. So yeah, just ask them to show you where the angular size is in their calculation. When they say it's not there, just say, yeah, that's because it's really just doing angular size. It's called it curve calcs. Hey, Jose.
Morning. Morning, it's me. No way, Jose.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Hola, hola. Muy bien, thank you. Continue, guys. Sorry to interrupt.
So yeah, I mean, like this is just going back and validating, obviously the work that's been done. So, you know, if anyone wants any measurements to know the heights of anything, they can watch the video. They can make their own minds up. If they look at the concert when I'm actually filming at the concert, and I actually point out this is the concert, the GPS is in there, everything like that, and you know that the height of those lights was 56 feet above actual sea level at the time when I was filming it. And that's why I went back today to get all this information for you. There's the seawall. There's the lights. There's the steps running down. There's the beach right at the bottom.
Much smaller than I thought. When you see it across the way, when you showed it, as obviously I'm not from this area. I've been to Blackpool, don't get me wrong, but you know I've got no concept of what this stuff's going to look like. And now you see it close up. It's like I thought the stage was massive based on how it presented itself in relation to the tower and all the roller coaster and such. But it's not, is it? It's really little.
Yeah.
Just flashing lights, I suppose, isn't it? The flashing lights make it seem big because it's a big flashing lights.
Yeah, it made a nice picture though on the video, you have to admit.
It's a wicked video, Ranty. You must be very proud.
I didn't expect not to get it. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I went last year for the opening of the Illuminations again, and I saw essentially the same stuff. I actually saw the Mirrorball, which is much further away than this, and much lower. So, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't not go and expect not to see anything. If I'd have gone during the day, now I have been in during the day, and we get that miraging effect like I showed you before on the mountain where it doubles back on itself. So Blackpool Tower, for instance, the ballroom at the bottom was all miraged and doubled down on itself. You couldn't really make anything out. Well, if I'd tried to film the concert then, well, that mirage zone was exactly in the area where those lights were. So they would have just been drowned out with this atmospherics, this crazy refraction that goes on during the day. Nighttime, when everything's settled down and everything's much calmer, you know, you get to see these things much clearer because you haven't got that to contend quite as much with that atmospherics.
Quick shout out to Big Al in the chat. Haven't seen you for a while.
So, right, that's that.
Cool. So how you getting on with your poncho train stuff, Jose?
Is he there now?
That's him, isn't it? Have we got Jose?
Quizás se me perdió. Yes, talk to me, guys. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. How you getting on with your Lake Pontchartrain stuff? I noticed one of your updates, but I don't want to steal all your thunder.
Yeah, I was in different like platforms jumping and pleading soundly to give me coordinates and tell me if he was gonna show up. I had no answer until a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. He messaged me and he didn't tell me if he was gonna go. I doubt it. But at least I wanted the coordinates and I got him exactly 4 coordinates. He gave me some details on where to park or where to go to get the same shots, and I appreciate that. So I got the coordinates, I put them in the maps, and they look legit, places that I can go. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make them all, but at least 2 of those are going to be able to replicate and be there. So I'm looking forward for Monday to do it.
Anybody who's green to this, basically, there seems to be Planet Orleans Parish, as John calls it, the only place on Earth that you can see visible curvature of Earth, it seems, is Pontchartrain. And there's one man who can catch that curve, and it's soundly. So Jose has volunteered himself to go back and replicate some of those observations. What are you hoping for? Are you hoping to replicate soundly, or are you hoping to replicate the thousands of other people that get it looking flat?
You know what? I was thinking, I think I jump in the 24/7 debate, whatever channel they're running on the Discord. And I asked him, what are your prediction, guys, if I go to the same points on Pontchartrain and I go and I record what am I going to catch? They tell me, I doubt you're going to catch the same thing. I really don't have an opinion. I don't know what am I going to catch. I'm actually expecting to catch the same thing that he is because, I feel like it cannot be all fake. It cannot be all CGI. Something about refraction, something about mirroring can be, but I don't know. I mean,
It's not CGI, I'll tell you that now. I'll tell you what he's doing. He's getting down to an elevation of approximately 4 to 5 feet above the actual water at that time. That's the area that he'll be finding the sweet spot in, the sweet spot of the refraction that will cause that effect. And I guarantee that if you go to between 4 and 5 feet and you start filming, you will capture the same stuff. But if you was to go higher, obviously they will say that you should see further, but I will guarantee that once you can start seeing the buildings across the way, those are at 20 miles, they will not conform to the curve cast at all.
Well, isn't that not where he was? I thought that he was somewhere between 30 and 50 feet high.
I love one in container.
I don't know. One of the coordinates, 2 of those are close to the ground, few feet, maybe up to 7 or 8 foot high. One of them is from above a hotel room, from a window of a hotel room, and some from the roof of the hotel room. So I doubt it. Maybe I don't know. I'm gonna try to go to the roof. Just drive into the parking, take a video. But I doubt it. I don't think I'm gonna make that one. I'm gonna make the 2 observations from below. And another one, I gotta catch a boat to get the power lines. I don't think I'm gonna do that either. So, I mean, I'll do my best on my way there. Just do a quick stop. Whatever I'm gonna catch, it's not gonna be the most professional with the best camera, but I will put content out there, and hopefully, it's gonna be glorious.
Did I hear you say that it was suggested you wouldn't be able to replicate soundly?
The guys told me, they say, I don't think you're gonna catch the same video, the same visuals that Soundly caught because it's too much curve or it's too odd looking, like too crispy clear or whatever. I say I really don't know, I don't see why. With a better camera, I think I could, make it crispy clear. With my camera, it's gonna be a little less high definition, but still it's gonna be good. So I really don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I'll look forward to seeing what you get. Again, there's been a bit of a... Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. There's a little app that I can, as I record in my phone, I can show whatever I'm doing in the screen. So I'm gonna record when I'm in the location, setting up the camera, and pop the little weather app to show all the weather conditions and show the map coordinates, show as much information as I can because it's gonna be a one shot and I won't want to miss any details, just in case something happens either way. Really good, good evidence for either side. So I just want to have it documented the best I can, and I'm planning on going back in the next month or two. So it's not gonna be a one-time thing. Just don't want to miss this first chance.
It's exciting, as crazy as that sounds. Yeah, there's also a bit of a back and forth, which is what Ranty was mentioning earlier. I popped everyone on mute, by the way, just because I couldn't figure out whose background noise was going. So if you want to talk, just make sure you unmute yourself. But yeah, there was Nummy Num, whose assertion was that there's CGI fakery at play on the images of the towers going over like Pontchartrain, the bridge itself.
Who said anyway? Yeah, I don't agree with that.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say Ranty doesn't agree with that, but yeah, maybe you can follow on from that. Give your reasons.
Yeah,
I know you've already
I
described how you
don't
think it's
agree with
got.
it because I don't agree with it because I can see the same illusion pretty much everywhere I look over water. So I just know that when he gets into a certain angle, gets to a certain elevation, he can manipulate the image that he's going to see just by the atmospherics. It's not difficult to do what he does, but it's easy when you understand what he's doing to look at it and know that this is how he's doing it. It's just a trick of the light, trick of the atmosphere. Relatively
Yeah,
easy
there's
to
one
do.
of the little videos that he put. Soundly, one of the famous ones. It's like I think going up and down in a GIF, and you see the bridge, and you see where the buildings are. It's a short video, but it's like a tweak in there. It's not CGI, but it's some type of a cropping on the camera. Maybe as a big image, and he just shows a little spot in the middle of the camera, and he, I don't know, stabilizes or something. So it looks off, not necessarily CGI, but it somehow, I say it's manipulated. I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm just saying manipulated as cropped and just presented a little part of the video instead of the whole picture. Maybe why? Maybe is there distortion in the rest of the video? I'm not sure, but it's cherry picked somehow on what he's showing.
Well, that assertion's been made also by Adam Meakin, who's over on Iron Realm Media. So check out Iron Realm Media. It runs every Friday night. I think it's 10:30 p.m. UK time. Anyway, he did. It's got to be 6 months, maybe even longer ago, a Lego model of the bridge, and then he took a picture of it with a fisheye lens and then cropped it and got the exact same effect. So that assertion has certainly been made before by Adam. And modelled and photographed in obviously a much smaller scale, but yeah, nonetheless he managed to replicate that effect using a fisheye lens. So that's certainly been postulated before.
I'd be pretty upset with George, from what he said. Can I tell you what he said?
What's he said? He made a joke earlier. It was quite funny.
He's basically crediting me with begging for the money to buy the camera when essentially it was you.
Oh, I'll take responsibility for that. I browbeated Ranty into doing it. So I, for months, was going, sell your camera, just get it on the market while it hasn't, there's no inkling of the P1000 and it's worth the most, just sell it. And he was like, no, Ranty's a bit more moralistic. I was in sales, so I didn't care. I just saw a value attributed to an item. And Ranty was like, no, it's knackered. It's been used a lot and blah, 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 blah. And wouldn't feel right this and don't want to sell it that and all the rest of the garbage when you've got somebody personally attached to some piece of electronics. Anyway, that aside, I said, well, if you do a GoFundMe, I'll be the first person to contribute to that GoFundMe because I want you to have a better camera. And he took some persuasion, but eventually he conceded and was like, okay, I'll set one up. And I said, great, as you've conceded and done exactly as I've asked, set up a GoFundMe. I'll not only donate to it, I'll help you promote it. So I basically told Ranty what to do, and he was very compliant and pretty much did exactly what I told him. And I ran a little marketing campaign for Ranty. He did a Ranty-a-thon, and we raised the money together. But it was me that was the driving force behind getting Ranty a P1000. I want him to have a P1000, and so does every person who donated to him.
Indeed. And let me just say this, George. It was done within 24 hours. The money was raised within 24 hours.
Yeah, that was something else I was keen to get done. So You know, don't get me wrong, I overestimated, or what's the words, under promised to overachieve. So I said, oh, if we can get it done in 3 days, that'd be wonderful. And then pushed and pushed and pushed to get it done immediately, because I didn't want it to drag out and be a non-stop begging shop. That's not what this show is. But there are times when that needs to be done. You know, nobody's got infinite funds. Ranty, same as me. You know, I'm poor, Ranty's poor. I don't care. I'm happy to admit it. Time rich, money poor. I'm happier now than I was when I was rich. But that means occasionally you have to reach around to the people who are enjoying the content that's produced. It's constantly on screen. You know, it's on a revolving reel every single show. And this is all stuff that's been taken by, you know, some of the shots by me. But people have got out there and ultimately spent money in the first instance just to get the material to be debating about. Now, it's quiet at the moment. The Globeheads don't want to come in. But that doesn't change the fact that they're all reacting on their own platforms well away from us, and the scorn that they get when they join us to have these discussions. You know, Wolfie's just the latest in a long line of examples. But ultimately speaking, it's still having an impact. We've still got over 200 people watching. It's never been more popular. So I'm still very, very much content with the way the show runs. But it's taken a lot of effort from people like Ranty and expense to be able to do that. And, you know, me for one, I'm going to promote that every day of the week. No two ways about it.
Nathan, let me just put this into perspective that George is criticising. Shawn Horford pleaded and begged for a drone, and then someone died in his family, and then he pleaded and begged for a funeral. And you don't criticise Shawn for that? So why would you criticise Ranty for asking for a P1000, which the Ballers donated to? I don't really see the problem. Did you go and attack Shawn for his funeral begging? No?
Well,
why not?
Well,
there
I
was a
don't see that
reason why
anybody
I
should.
brought it up.
You can go do a GoFundMe for whatever you like. Shawn is more than entitled to do that. So what? More
Sure,
power
but
to him.
my point is that George isn't attacking him for paying for a funeral by begging. Why is he not attacking Shawn? Moron.
Well, there was a reason I brought this up. It was simply because I noticed his comment just after I finished the presentation about the refraction zone and how things were all being hidden behind it. And I think I made a very good point showing comparisons and other videos to prove that point. And as soon as I'd finished the presentation, I noticed George had made the comment, which was, Ranty is such a loser, he had to beg for money to buy a camera. Lazy son of a bitch, cannot even earn a living. So his answer to the presentation was that. Now, I don't see how that has any relevance to the presentation that I just did, which was essentially smashing his little ball religion to pieces.
So what about Shawn then? What's your comment on Shawn begging for a funeral? Is that because he's too lazy to get a job? Or is it a different set of rules when it's Ballers?
Well, no, what he's done is he's made this point to try and smear the evidence that I've just put forth, which was that I'd gone along and I'd been able to capture the platform, the oil platform off of Wales today, and we were seeing down to the flames of it, etc. And I was explaining how the rest of it was hidden behind a band of refraction, and was able to demonstrate that by showing you the mountain and the sky being miraged back down on itself, which would have obviously blocked out the mountain behind it. So I was able to demonstrate my assumption that the reason we can't see the platform itself, but we can see the flames coming out of it, is because it's hidden behind the atmosphere, right? I've done a very concise proof with imagery, and his response to that was to try and bring me down and make out that I was some kind of loser, this, that, and the other. And I just wanted to point it out because essentially this is all they've got is ad homs. They don't have any answers for the presentation. The presentation was very clear. It was very, methodical with what I did. And his answer was to try and say that I'm a lazy son of a bitch, can't earn a living, and has to beg for a camera. Right? So this is the level that we're talking about when we're talking to these ballers, these trolls. This is what they do. They cannot find answers for the stuff that we have, the questions. Proof of R. Proof of a pressurized container next to a vacuum of space. All this kind of stuff, they don't have an answer for it. Instead, they just do ad homs and fill up the chat with spurious rubbish. And I want to point it out that no, I'm not a loser. I'm not a lazy son of a bitch. I work hard for Flat Earth, and I do actually have a job too. Anyway, that's that.
Yeah, lots of straw men.
And just ad hom, general bigotry, I suppose.
They've nothing left. There's nothing left. They have nothing left to offer.
I've been
And that's why
spamming
they
the
don't come
evidence
in.
for all of the housekeeping points.
been spamming the chat with my e-begging while you've been saying all this, by the way. Smash that PayPal link.
Actually, smash my subscribe link. I'm nearly at 1,000 subscribers now, so I'm I think at 958. So I've only got 42 to go. So if anybody hasn't subscribed, I'm gonna say hi in chat, and if you get the chance, come over to my channel and subscribe if you can. There we go. There's a plug.
What I'm going to do shortly is kind of do a soft close to the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's going on? So yeah, we've had a lot of technical issues in the last 2 or 3 shows. So what I'm going to do is kind of almost do a pretend round out of the show and then ask Anthony to join me on Skype and see if I can force the error. So with that, although this won't technically be the proper end, but it's so that there is an ending in case it all crashes and goes wrong. With that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. I think that's probably all I'm going to get without lots of screaming. Maybe not, maybe not. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Said something about like doing a fake ending, like just in case what he was trying to do doesn't work.
Right, so the show's still live. I've not done anything. I've not ended the show. I've not ended the recording. Just saying. Sorry about all the screaming. Yeah, so it just means that if the show does get go horribly wrong, at least I've got an ending to the show. But yeah, Anthony, if you can hear me, can you join on Skype? And I'm going to see if I can force the show to crash. Does that make sense?
Try getting Ranty to do it because I'm just doing something.
You there, Ranty? You just call on. If you can just drop from the Hangout and call on Skype.
Right. Okay.
Shout out to MIDI HC for the super chat. Thank you very much.
Conducting an experiment, are we?
Shout out to me, the HC. I was talking to him yesterday for a little bit on the 24/7 Discord.
You know what?
Cool guy, cool guy.
Pronounced like, right?
Say
It's
that
meant
again.
to be my dick.
Hello.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Fucking made it. It is cool.
Yeah, we've all got flu. I've had flu for the last week. My wife's just caught it. My kids had it for a week and a half. So my kid's really unhappy.
Hello.
Hey.
Let's see how long it lasts before it kicks.
So we're trying to force the show to crash. Okay.
Yeah,
I assume Nathan's doing some.
He's trying to weed out the whatever is responsible for causing the computer, I think, to overheat, and he thinks it's the Skype. He's conducting an experiment to see if it's the Skype that's actually doing it, if it's the cause.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my kid to stop screaming so I can get you to do a few things. If you can screen share
What's
something.
the independent variable?
Ranty on
I'm sure she's doing it on purpose, you know.
I'm sure I heard a slap.
Probably her slapping me.
Ranty. Better lick the spoon.
Where's my food? Psh.
Didn't the United States government crash the show yesterday? Or before?
The United States do what?
The United States government. Didn't they crash the show?
When? Yesterday?
Oh, poor George thinks that I can't take any criticism. This is what he thinks. Anthony, do you have an answer for that? Do you think he thinks that I don't have, water off a duck's back kind of thing?
You are a big baby at times.
Yeah, but does he actually think that this really affects me?
He might genuinely think it, yeah.
Yeah, but even then, that's BS. It's not criticism.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It is
not,
bullshit.
It's not authentic, constructive feedback. It's just whining and attacking you as a person.
Because he doesn't understand Coriolis.
He doesn't even know what year it is, so...
Net Nuke can't Coriolis, huh?
Yeah, he thinks that there's 3 frames of reference and he doesn't understand why on the model there's supposed to be actually 2.
And the funny thing is, Nathan hasn't realised there's all these super chats going in right now. You've had like 3 or 4 in the past 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to say some shout-outs. Shout-outs to Midihisk, Ratio Perfect, Retro Bill, and Legendary Hyena. Oh, and Dank. Anybody else?
Yeah, shout out to Dank. What's going on, Dank? Shout out to everybody, even the trolls. Trolls make the show too.
Shout out to Stiggy. I'm thinking this Friday to do a live modification of the P900. What do you think?
I think you'll need a new P900.
Really? You don't think I can do it?
I don't know.
I got a few more shout outs. Shout outs to people that I know that are looking and they don't want to key in the chat. Shout out to Joe Rogan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, etc., and gang.
Yeah,
you guys are watching. Shout out to NASA and the government. You're not gonna shut it down, man.
Appreciate it.
Apollo, what's your view on the album art that NASA have used for the Bullet?
It's the other way around. The album used a NASA photo.
Right, even so, the one that they produced that was on the thing, the Twitter feed message was not
the message
bullet wound that they say that happened.
The message was from this ex-astronaut, right? It was incorrect. I don't think it was him.
It's a pretty bad mistake, huh?
Well, he's put a picture up of what he claims was a meteorite hole in the ISS, which turns out to be the album art on some album, which apparently originated from NASA originally. But in any event, it's not referencing the thing that actually happened. It's referencing something that happened years ago.
Yes.
Well, isn't that just because they couldn't get an actual picture, so they did what they could and said, "Oh, this is probably pretty close."
Well, it wasn't NASA that made the Twitter. It was an ex-astronaut. I don't think it was a NASA message.
Yeah, but it's still the same idea. He's like, "Yeah, this is probably what it looks like."
Yeah,
close
maybe.
enough.
Shout out to Rob Wiggles for the super chat.
Last shout out I'm gonna make over here is to the source of it all, Aristarchus. Shout out to Aristarchus over there, somewhere, everywhere.
Hey, can I just say though, if we noticed that since Nathan's not said a single word, we've had all these donations. Since I've taken the helm, he's gone quiet. We got all these donations coming in.
I'm gonna attempt to thank you. See if I can do it between screams. Thank you very much for all the super chats. Really appreciate it.
You know, you had 6 super chats.
And look at that. He's not even screaming at anybody.
That's a nice change. Oof.
So, what do you think of this ISS Thumbgate thing? Do you think it was
Thumbgate.
Thumbgate?
What?
That's what it should be called.
We didn't get an answer for why he thinks it's acceptable for them to use an old photograph for somewhat represented supposed to be like new.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Is that a Randyism? Did you just make that up, Randy, or is that something else that's going around?
I literally just made it up.
That's brilliant. That's awesome. That should go viral.
If somebody else has already thought about it, I didn't rip it off. I literally just thought of it. So there we go.
I'm sure somebody has got it out there somewhere already.
Thanks
Well,
to the
yeah,
super chat
Apollo.
again, Rob Wiggles, Team Ranty, hashtag Team Ranty. Thank you.
So yeah, Apollo. Back to the question.
Yes.
What did you think about them using the wrong picture or a different picture to represent what happened the other day?
Well, it wasn't NASA that used it. It was Chris Hatfield.
No, you're missing the point. Chris Hatfield tweeted it, but it's referencing an album art which was originally NASA's artwork from wherever it came from originally. But they're passing something off that's already archaic in terms of NASA. It's not the representation of the actual thing that he let everybody think it was.
Yes. Well, I don't know what. I don't know him. I guess you should ask him why he used a picture that wasn't from the International Space Station.
I would love to ask him
That's a
that.
problem, though, don't you think?
I guess.
You guess?
Yeah, with so much questioning of all the NASA pictures and videos, why they don't put a little disclaimer like this photo is just artistic, whatever, just a representation of how it looks like, but
You guys keep saying them, but it is just Chris Hatfield who said it. Not he didn't say NASA said this, or he didn't retweet a NASA post. It was
I don't really
just
see. Hang on a minute. He's referencing an old document. He's supposed to be reporting on the damage that was reported by or caused to the ISS by a meteorite. I don't see how you can defend that when he's using the wrong
astronaut.
And he doesn't make a qualification and say this is something that it could look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an astronaut, right? So he's a representative of NASA.
I don't think he's an astronaut anymore. Well, actually, yeah, he is. He's a Canadian astronaut.
I don't know if that would really matter though. Even if you're an ex-astronaut, you're still an astronaut. You're still associated with that agency. I don't think they would allow people to just, post whatever they want without some type of regulation. Like
Well,
Buzz is an ex-astronaut. I mean, he's an astronaut, but he's not doing it anymore. So that would make him an ex-astronaut. But he can't just come out and say whatever he wants.
Well, let's just forget the image for a
when
minute.
he does,
let's
look
just
what
think
happens.
of the idea of a 2 millimeter hole in the ISS. Let's just think of that and what it would do.
Well,
Never mind what they say it might do. Think about it. What would it do? Vacuum of space, pressurized
It's like
container.
popping a balloon. That's what it would do.
I think it literally would pop it like a balloon. I don't think there's any way that it would stand having a hole like that. I just don't think that's possible. Then again, I've never been in a vacuum of space, so I don't know.
Are we still live or are we offline?
No, still live.
So
Right, you've got a question from George in the chat, Anthony. How many frames of reference are there if you roll the ball on the floor of a moving train? How many frames if you throw
George,
the
you don't
ball in the
understand
air?
Coriolis. That's the bottom line. Doesn't matter anything else. Anything else is a distraction. If you say there's 3 reference frames, you don't understand Coriolis. It's that simple.
In memory of the dodo. Yes. Terror beards were awesome. The cassowary is still pretty big, so does it count as a terror beard? Cassowary? Yes.
Paulo, can I ask a question?
No. Yeah, of course, man.
Thank you. Being that you believe that the ISS is a real space station with people in it, do you find it a little funny that this is like the first time we're hearing there's some type of problem on the ISS after it's been up there for 20 years or so, maybe 21 or something like that, that it's been up there and never had a serious major problem? This is the first time a meteorite has hit that thing up there. Do you buy any of that?
There have been small problems before, and there had to be spacewalks to fix it. I'm not sure about meteorites. I guess I could look up a history if there has ever been an meteorite impact before. I didn't search up on all problems that ever happened on the International Space Station.
I mean, it's quite possible there might have been one, but I figure, us as a bunch of flat earthers doing research, we would have found that out at some point if that had happened. Now, I haven't heard it. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody else has heard that happening before, but I just find it really funny and suspect that something that a tin can that's been orbiting the Earth for 20 years has never gotten hit by any micro meteorite, any piece of space debris that's up there, which is supposed to be filling up, you know, all around the Earth, right? When they show you the diagrams of all the satellites that are supposed to be up there, it looks like a hot mess. But supposedly nothing hits anything else. Even the satellites don't hit each other. Even the ones that are working or not working, nothing hits each other. Nothing hits anything else. It's amazing.
There have been several impacts of satellites, and not the entire International Space Station has been um, in orbit for 20 years. It was slowly expanded.
Yeah, they built some of it, and then they continue to add more, right? Something
Yes.
like that. Shame there's not like a video of that,
I
right?
was just gonna say, why don't you think they took video of that? That'd be like that's like
That would be the
pretty.
greatest thing to see. Like
Yeah, it's
you're
like pretty
actually watching
monumental.
construction in
Yeah.
space.
I
Why?
have
That's like going to Journey to the Center of the Earth, and they're like, yeah, we didn't take any footage.
Right.
I have seen several videos and photos where two modules were connected together, aka construction. Yeah, I've seen several videos and photos
Of what, the ISS?
of it being constructed. Yes.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Have you got any that you can show
Is
us
that?
now?
Yeah. Do you have any documentation, like dates and altitudes and persons involved?
It was a while ago. I don't have anything ready.
Typical.
Was it just something that you had easy access to on online?
Yeah, but I don't have anything set up right now. So maybe if I have a free day, I will set up
Yeah, that'd be
a
interesting for sure.
presentation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
That
want to
would
see
be
that.
that would be neat.
but it's only still shots.
No, I also saw video, but
Huh. Okay.
I
the
mean, I would
benefit.
hope there would be a video because I mean, as human beings, we videotape everything. You know, whenever something is getting built, we videotape that. We take film of that. So, I mean, a space station being built in space, I would think that somebody would want to document that as, just another great achievement.
I've also seen telescope photos of the space shuttle getting in orbit with the International Space Station. So you would see the space shuttle next to the space shuttle in a telescope photo. Really awesome.
I mean, you would see the space station next to the space shuttle.
Yes, and there
From
are also photos of the space shuttle docked with the International Space Station. You know, when the space shuttle was still flying.
hmm
And of course, yeah, what would be really
that's not how these guys when they go up in and out of there, right? They use a Soyuz. They don't. I mean, I know they obviously don't use space shuttle anymore, but that's what they use, right? Anybody that knows, is it the Soyuz that's supposed to go up there?
they use the Soyuz right now. They use America used to use the space shuttle, and in like 1 or 2 years, America hopes to use either the Dragon, the Dragon to move personal. So
The SpaceX one.
yeah, but that's still a work in progress. Currently, SpaceX is just doing cargo. What I actually want to look for are telescopes photos of the International Space Station getting constructed. So you could see the module being taken out of the space shuttle and docked with the International Space Station. That would be really awesome to see with a telescope, but I haven't looked for it. That would be really awesome.
Yeah, I would like to see all of that. I would like to see.
But unfortunately, you'll never see any of it because it's not real.
I've seen some
Interesting is
really
the mass of the ISS isn't being sucked out into space. That's pretty interesting.
well. Isn't that like how you can have a pressure? How do you call it? How you can have a container with pressure inside a vacuum chamber? Wouldn't that basically be the same thing?
Impossible, yeah.
Wouldn't it be fun though to just put a little hole inside of that and do an experiment to see what would happen if you put that pressurized container inside the vacuum and just put a little pinprick in it, see what would happen?
Yeah, that would be cool.
You get a little model constructed of ISS that's completely airtight, and then put it into a vacuum chamber. Yeah, huh?
I don't think
I
that would. Well, I don't know.
I predict.
So you don't think it would be an accurate representation of what would occur in space?
But I'm no expert on vacuums on structural integrity, but I don't think, depending on the size, let's say you have several, I guess you could take several tubes and weld them together, and you know
Hello.
It's not a sniper, in, is there?
I don't know. Somebody did just come in or left.
One came in. Tom Hardy came in, but he got kicked.
Is Apollo still in?
I still see his icon, but he stopped talking.
Yeah, it's possible he might just have lost connection.
No, Jose just left. I think Tom Hardy came in and left, and I think he's in there somehow.
That's Jose. That's me.
Did you get kicked?
No, he's still in there because he's not in Skype. So I think what he was saying was that he doesn't really think that it would be an accurate representation of what went wrong with the ISS. Where I don't see that doing a scale representation of that would, I think that would be, valid. I can't see how it wouldn't be. Get a pressurized container, put it into the vacuum, somehow manage to prick it somehow and see what happens.
This is my second account. It was remove a bunch of people from the back. I just removed him from the back chat.
Right, it was it? Right.
Yeah, I just jumped in to see who was the sniper, and it was no was yet with the little boss maybe thing.
Okay.
Jose, was that Angelina Jolie in your other image?
Yeah, that's old Photoshop I did maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah, I thought that was her.
Yeah, that's not easy. That's not easy to replicate for my. That's gonna be my avatar thing for this hangout, my original one. So if a sniper coming with a different little logo, that's not me. I'm gonna be with Angelina Jolie or the fishy guy.
So what camera do you have to do this punch train stuff?
It's a Canon PowerShot. I gotta give you the numbers next to it. It's a Canon PowerShot and it's 50 times zoom. Let me get the other specifications to tell you exactly which one it is.
Right. Nathan needs me to screen share now, apparently. So I'm just going to share my screen and show you what I'm seeing. So I do apologise if this gets repeated over inside the chat. I don't think there's anything else that I can put on. Maybe put a video on, perhaps. Let's see. Let's have a look at this.
Well, apparently his computer hasn't
I'll just put a
crashed.
random video on. Where's the beach one? That's this one. Nope. Previous to that. There we go. Right, Nath, if you want to display me, this is what you wanted to see, isn't it? See, he's trying to force the computer to crash, apparently.
Okay.
So if you're seeing this in the live stream, I don't know if you are, but if you're seeing it, this is just where I was this morning down on the beach, just getting some data for everybody that can back up the observation that I did from Barrow a few nights ago. Sorry, what camera was it you had, Jose? Sorry. Is anyone left in the chat?
Yeah, I put it in the Skype. Yeah, SX530 Canon PowerShot.
Oh, okay, what kind of zoom does it have on it?
It's a 50 times zoom.
Well, that's pretty good. I don't think you'll need much more than that for a 20-mile observation.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, from one of my other videos, there's like a tower in a building. Those are 14 miles away, behind the bridge and everything, and I can see them clear, big time. And there's a lot of stuff in between. Just that one building sticking out and the tower, I can see it really clear. Yeah, behind everything. So, yeah, I think I'll be all right.
And what do you say you're going to do? How many observations are you going to make?
Over there by the poncho train, I'm not sure until I get there. Definitely two different spots standing down. So I'm gonna set my tripod and let it run for a few minutes, to see it move around or whatever. And then I don't know if I'm gonna go across the bridge, so to maybe videotape across the bridge as I'm going. I'm not sure until I get there. I'm gonna do it in different zooms, showing the whole shenanigans. I'm not gonna just show still pictures or a little 3-second snapshot. I'm gonna take a few minutes videos, a few of them in different little spots, higher and lower as I'm standing up and sitting it down on the sand, etc.
Do you get carling over there to drink? This is a carling can that's just been left on the beach. I was just doing some random filming and, thought I'd just show just the littering that goes on around here. We had a can of Stella that was folded over there. We had a barbecue, portable barbecue. People nowadays, they just don't give a shit, do they? Is this being displayed on YouTube?
Yeah, there's no respect for leaving trash back behind.
Guys, is this showing on YouTube now? Am I displaying or?
It was showing before, I think.
Yeah, this promenade's being broadcast on YouTube.
Right, okay, so everything that I'm showing now is being shown to the audience, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
What's going on, Eric?
Amash, is that Jose? Sounds like Jose.
This is Chocolate.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Me and Jose sound very different.
Yeah, you had a low tone like that.
Jose rolled the R's. R.
Arr.
Is this boardwalk from the other day in the somewhere in UK? Walls, yeah, it must be.
Yeah, this is off the seawall. This is right where I am now is where the band were playing that I was filming from Barrow. So
I just don't want to feel hungry like this.
Right.
So if that,
No, I just saw
I
saw the ice cream brand Wells, and you don't have that in North America. Okay.
Well, this is because Anthony got in touch with that conspiracy cats guy, and he asked him to take a look at this evidence. So he wanted me to know. He wanted to know what the elevation above sea level of this walkway was that I'm walking on right now. So I went and I measured it.
What is that? Well, hey, I got a stupid question. When we say sea level, are we talking about where it's receded? This is low tide, obviously. So
yeah, well, this is a 3 meter tide. So at this exact time that I'm filming now, which was just before 11 o'clock, the tide was at 3 meters. When I took the images and the video from Barrow, the tide was at 2 meters. So when I threw the tape measure off the side here and I took it down to the water's edge, I knew what the height was above my feet at that time at a 3 meter tide. So all I had to do was just add on just another 3 feet or so to the actual height that I got. And then that gave me an accurate height above sea level. So yeah, this is low tide. This is a 3 meter tide. It goes up to about 8.5 meters. And that will be touching the seawall beneath where I was filming from now.
Right. Yeah, you can see where the water, just by on these piers, the different levels of water, how they can go up and down.
Well, you can see here, just right at the end of the video there, when I zoom back out, I'll just pause it and just show it. As I zoom back out, you can actually see the puddles that are still here. This is beneath the steps, and that's the seawall. The steps are on the seawall.
I guess when it's high tide, the water goes right up to the steps, right? I mean, those steps that you were just showing, that pretty much...
It goes high. Yeah, it would go higher than that. It goes around about 2/3 of the way up those steps. So if I show you a couple of videos back, on this video here, and hang on, where are we?
Okay, so anyway, I mean, if we're talking sea level, the discrepancies between the tides, I mean, you were pretty much at quote, sea level on the other side, right?
Yeah, I was at sea level on the other side, which meant that I needed to know what a 2 meter high tide was in Blackpool at that time. It was 2 meters where I was, essentially, and it was 2 meters here. So I was right by the water. So I'm looking across. I just needed then to know if this was a 2 meter tide here, what would these lights that are up here where my cursor is, what would those lights have been above sea level? What would the street lights have been at? What height would the sea wall have been at? You see these people that are on these steps here? Yeah, they're the steps. The tide comes in, there's the steps, and the tide comes up to about where my cursor is now. So if I put that above the person's head there, that's where the tide would come up to. An 8.5 meter tide would be about there. Right now, obviously, I'm down on the beach, and the tide's at 3 meters. So 3 meters, 8.5, we've got 5.5, we've got 20 feet or so of tidal water that would be coming in and would come up to the seawall about here. But anyway, I was able to get a measurement to the height of those, these structures here on the seawall. And these lights that were flashing were 56 feet above sea level when I was filming it from Barrow. I think the curve calc was like 120 odd feet should have been missing. So the fact we were seeing these lights, you know, with the concert playing here, that were only 56 feet above sea level when I filmed it. I mean, that there and then they've got to just, you know, where's the missing 70 feet of curve? You know, we just see it because it's there.
Yeah, no, this is getting what we're seeing now. I mean, we should have figured this out before the famous P90. I mean, I've been seeing stuff from 70 miles away. Okay, granted, from a high vantage point, but yeah, 70 miles. Even I can even see further. I mean, on a clear day, I can almost see Canada from central New York.
Well, let's have a look here. Let's have a look at my desktop. Let's get down to where are we? Need to find the video that I did with Barrow Blackpool. This one. So I'll show you these lights. Where are we? So 1 minute 30 Blackpool night video. So here we go. So at the back end of the video, you see these lights that are flashing here, right?
Yeah.
There's those structures that I'm telling you about. Those structures. They were 56 feet above actual sea level at this time. What you're seeing there is 56 feet above sea level, right?
That cutoff line, where it cuts off the spherical looking lights, that must be that seawall, that retaining wall, where it's almost, you know, you see sometimes the lights get chopped. That must be that wall.
Well, I don't see them being chopped.
Well, I mean, the flashing light is a sphere, but sometimes you can see the bottom of the spheres being, so it's just a slight, you see?
I don't see any chopping there, bud.
Oh.
You know, look pretty spherical to me. And these lights, like I say, 56 feet above sea level. The concert was going on. So essentially, you've got to believe, if you believe the sphere model right now, what we're looking at is a hologram. It's not really there. There's 70 feet missing. The curve calcs is 70 feet missing. We've not got curved water, right? So what's going on? Are we actually seeing holograms here? Or do you actually think that what I'm videoing right now is reality? Do you actually think that the camera is actually just seeing it because it's there? Or is it loomed up beyond the curvature of the Earth?
That's magic.
Yeah? Which one is it? There's 70 feet missing here. Where is it?
It's mathematical.
And this is why I went to get the measurements. So now I know that those lights were 56 feet above the water when I filmed it. I know that the curve calcs say it's at least 120 feet beyond the curvature of the Earth. So now that we have those two values, we have value number 1, which is 56 feet, and we have value 2 of 120 or so. So where's the missing curve? Where's this? Are these lights a hologram? You know, there's other things that I can show you. Look at this.
Did you see that the guy that was doing the infrared videos from the plane, he just put a new video out the other day. I think it was
the
yesterday.
500-mile one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Well, this is this here is streetlights and illuminations all along the promenade there. That's all along the promenade. This is Blackpool Tower. Underneath it, this black area, you won't see that ever because that is just the Tower Ballroom. It's not lit up, right? But all the streetlights, all the illuminations are all lit up. In a moment, I'm going to pan across and I'm going to show you the big wheel. There's the big wheel. You know, you shouldn't see any of this. This big wheel is not there. It's a hologram, if you believe this, right? This concert isn't there. You know, when is it going to become enough for you to see this stuff and just think, do you know what? Actually, that looked pretty damn real to me. It looks like I'm actually seeing the thing because it's there. Because if this is loomed up, then that means the top of the tower's loomed up too. But the tower looks in complete proportion. There's no edit point in the middle where the refraction looming finishes and the reality kicks in. You know, this is the entire tower. So that's the whole tower must be being loomed up as well, which would mean that it's not just in a narrow band of 0.5 degrees or 1 degree. You know, we're talking 2 or 3 degrees where this tower's being loomed up in proportion.
What would be the cause?
It's not even bending backwards on a curve. I mean, it's not even skewed. You know, like if you Photoshop your skew cell. I mean, the top should be getting really. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's perfectly straight up from ground level, from sea level. There's no leaning. It's not leaning back even.
There's no building anywhere leaning except for the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So, I mean, there should be leaning buildings all over the freaking planet, right?
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Wait.
We're on a ball.
You know what? You know what would be interesting is we have a physical structure that is leaning away from an observer or towards it. What would be an interesting study would be to go there personally and view it and demonstrate that the angle is observable, because that's what we're told is the reason why we can't detect that that other structures are leaning away from us is because the curve is so slight that you wouldn't be able to tell. But I think that we would all agree that initially in our minds we think, no, that's not true. We can observe something and tell that it's not what it should be. So you've got the leaning tower. Then if you stood at it straight on, so that it wasn't angling, so that it wasn't leaning to the left or to the right, but it was either leaning forward or back, you would be able to tell that it was off visually.
Yeah, shouldn't we be able to go back to a certain vantage point, and if it shouldn't the curve correct it in our eyes so that it gets to a point where it looks straight? Is there any way? You know, obviously it would be a quote unquote trick of the eye, but isn't that what?
Yeah.
I mean,
not necessarily, because if you're far enough away from it, curving away,
right,
and leaning away from it on a ball, at some point it should look straight to you.
Yeah, that's the point I was making. So can we get to a vantage point on this curved ball where the curve, corrects the discrepancy, and obviously it would just be an ocular, so it would make it appear straight. So if it's on a ball, we should be able to get to a specific vantage point where it, forget leaning back, just starts looking straight.
Yeah, you would have to be. I think it would be better to be on the downward side, so that you would have to be at the angle where it's leaning towards you, and then you would have to roll the ball backwards
Yeah.
so that it gets to that point. But I'm driving right now. Why don't one of you guys, maybe Eric, jump on and see what the specs are for the tower? How high it is, what the degree of angle is. That would be interesting.
Why the hell it's leaning?
I mean, it's leaning. About, what's it, 10 stories? So I don't know, 60, 70 feet. I'm guessing. They didn't tell either.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you have it, if it's 10 stories and you know the degree, you should be able to then calculate what a normal building would.
It's just under 56, 55.86 meters. So let's say 55.9 and 180
60 feet,
180
feet,
183 feet.
Yeah.
Are we still live?
What's the angle? Looks, I would
Yeah,
say
we're still
the
live.
lean looks about 20 degrees or something, 15 to 20.
So you're saying that it's at a 70 degree angle? Because if it's 90 degrees is straight up, then if there's 20.
I mean, I'm just visually, I'm guessing it's
right.
It says the tower leans 3.99 degrees.
Only 4 degrees?
That's
Yeah.
it. Oh.
I mean, it looks kind of slight. It doesn't really look. I mean,
Well, it depends. You know, you take the
compared
angle
to any other building, because nobody in their right mind would build a building like that. So it just, yeah, it does look off, even if it is just 4 degrees. But
True, it's just Well, I guess if you're taking the angle from the base and just the I don't know, because if you start at the base and you go to the height, it looks more than 4 degrees. It looks about 10. I don't know how they calculate it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. You'd have to drop a plumb line from the top.
Yeah, man. It should be good to go and see if we can get that building to lean back so where it appears straight. Thank you, Ball Earth.
Well, even then, even then, that's it, right? So if it's only 4 degrees, which is very, very slight, I suppose then the trick would be to go there and look at it from both of those angles and see if you can be honest and say, yeah, I can't tell if it's leaning or not from this angle.
You know, the other thing I was thinking of the other day, you know, with all the modern engineering and building, like, is why aren't we using the centrifugal force and the planet's rotation and stuff?
Say that again.
There must be some sort of, if we're living on a spinning ball, this motion, shouldn't we be like using it in practical instances to build stuff? Like, there must be a way to use this momentum and to our advantage, right?
No, because the centripetal force of the core of the Earth completely negates the centripetal, so it zeroes out, which is why everything appears to us as if we're motionless and flat.
instead of being actually just motionless and flat.
What's that pendulum? What's that I mean, if it can do that, no, there has to be some. According to Arwin, there's some force there.
Well, with the pendulum.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, they had so-called experiments that showed, you know, the motion, the rotation of the Earth. They claim there are experiments that pendulum thing.
Yeah, but see, the whole thing with that is that completely falls apart because you have to construct a man-made contraption and you have to initiate the momentum of that swing. But then, and this is what I brought out. I was interviewed on Saturday by David Smalley with the Dogma Debate podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I contacted him because he had an interview with another flat earther, and the guy just was horrible. He wasn't friendly. He was laughing and mocking David and his other panelists. And so I contacted David and say, hey, if you want to have another go at a flat earther, you know, give me a shot. So we had our show on Saturday. I don't know when the release date is, but one of the things I critiqued was Foucault pendulum because they brought it up. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, you can't use Foucault because the pendulum is attached to the Earth.
Well, that's I know.
You can't. You'd have to eliminate that variable. And they're like, yeah, what? How would you do that? I said, a helicopter. They said, well, what if we hung something from outer space and it hung all the way down to the Earth? I mean, they actually said that, right? And
Oh my god.
I'm like, guys, I don't log in with Coriolis.
Well, I was listening to Joe Rogan and Neil deGrasse ass Tyson.
With the, huh?
No, go ahead. I didn't know you started cutting out. I think. What were you saying?
I said the same thing about Coriolis. Coriolis doesn't work because it creates a zero equation.
Yeah, I know. That's god. The Coriolis effect is one of the most annoying things to deal with in my view, because I always go revert to some sniper. And I was in the Marine Corps. Let's say I was pretty much, that was my job. And no, I was never trained about Coriolis effect. No, sorry. Windage is probably the biggest thing you have to account for. And nobody talks about that. I think they're trying to conflate windage with I don't know what. I just, these videos with these military snipers talking about Coriolis.
And windage would just be the air friction.
Mm-hmm. And it's elevation.
That would have nothing to do with your actual target being in a different place because the Earth spun.
No, exactly.
Right.
I was never trained. I mean, I'm not saying I was the most world famous. I was pretty good at my job. Put it that way. I was good enough to be called a sniper. So that's utter bullshit. Coriolis. But yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking. It's funny. He brought up. He was asking Joe Rogan, the sellout. He said, "What's the lowest point in the Earth's crust?" And Joe Rogan, basically, he was talking about the Mariana Trench. And then he talked about what's the highest point. I forget what is it? The MK2. It doesn't even have a name. It's not like Mount something. It's what K2. What do they say is the highest point on Earth? K2. It's like some alphanumeric. Does anybody?
Well, it's a choice between K2 and Mount Everest, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I guess Tyson was claiming that one, but ironic. Joe didn't. It's like, and where are you getting these measurements? What's your base? Sea level, right? The level. It's just Mariana Trench and this mountain, the highest and lowest. Yeah. What's your base measurement? Oh, sea level. How can you have a base level on a globe, on a ball?
I don't know.
Let's see, what is it? What are they saying on So there's a debate between Mount Everest and what's the other? What is it? K2 or what's the name of it?
I think it's K2. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just K2.
I'm ignorant on it. And where's that supposed to be located?
Actually,
Right now. Mount Everest, highest altitude. Mauna Kea, tallest mountain. Oh, Jesus, what's the highest point?
Just say Mount Everest.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I just find it weird that somebody like Tyson can say, what's the lowest point? It's like just totally skip over how he's getting these measurements. And what's the baseline? Ridiculous.
Right.
So what's this conspiracy cats guy? Who was the one that's in contact with them?
It was Anthony that got me in touch with. Well, he sent conspiracy cats to my channel to look at this observation from Barrow. So I actually expect that probably within the next week or so he will do a video explaining this observation from Barrow. So he's got to account for why those lights that were at 56 feet above actual sea level at the time when I videoed it, that should have been hidden behind 120 foot of earth curvature, right? How I was able to see them. I was able to see the concert, the big wheel, the big one, everything you can think of, the street lights past the big one, the street lights past the big one. He's going to come back with a video, and I did actually express in the video title, well, the description, that, you know, it's nonsense to even think that you're looking at a mirage, you know, something that's loomed up from beyond the curve, because it's clear as day. You're actually looking at what you're looking at. There's nothing in it that's like, you can't say that's a mirage. It's, you're just looking at it, right? So he's going to come back with a video apparently on it. We'll see.
Hey, am I incorrect in thinking, like, we do know that there are such a thing as a mirage, but am I wrong in thinking that a mirage should be a mirror up? Aren't real mirages like a mirror opposite? Or am I mistaken?
I know,
It should be.
that's one type.
So it's
I don't
looming.
know.
They're talking about looming. That's what they're saying. They're saying that it's loomed up from beyond the curvature of the Earth. You know, the whole of Blackpool was loomed up 70 feet at least into a perfectly flat and level position. And then all the lights across the entire peninsula hit my camera again in proportion at a perfect flat level. And this is what this is what I'm expecting him to come back and say. Either that, or he's going to be very truthful and he's going to say, do you know what? I can't explain it, because he's a Glover. So he's either going to be very truthful, or he's going to be very, it's looming.
Well, he's also a public school teacher, so I think you got to remember about that guy. That, I mean, how can he continue his job if he starts? You know, he's a science teacher. I'm doubtful. I mean, good luck with somebody in that position in this thing called society, to be truthful.
Ranty. So that was one of my thoughts I had when I was looking at your image today with just the flame right above the water line.
Yep.
Why didn't the rest of the whole thing come up if it was loomed? Why did it only do that?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is what I've been countering for the past year. I've been countering it with observations, with real proof that shows that isn't the case. You know, so whenever anybody says that things are blocked from the bottom up due to curvature, you know, it's my direct response to them is no, it's just atmospheric. It's atmospheric blocking. And the more evidence that I gather, the more data I get, the more I can just go, right, okay, well, look at what I filmed today. And you can see by me presenting this exactly where I'm going with, that's why we couldn't see this. This is why things disappear from the bottom up. You know, it really is. It's very simple once you understand that there's this layer of air and moisture above the water that creates a mirroring effect. And that mirroring effect absorbs all kinds of stuff. Well, I say absorbs, it mirrors all kinds of stuff. So mostly it mirages the sky. So in effect, it actually lowers the horizon. So when they're pointing to we got the theodolite and they're trying to line up the horizon line, well, that isn't the real horizon for a start, because you've got that mirroring effect. The sky's being mirrored down on the water.
And you don't know how much, is actually between that space. I don't think that you can find out how much distance that space equals.
No. So when you actually see stuff and you look at stuff and you can actually pinpoint, okay, I can identify that. This is what you need to start focusing on. And every time we do this, we figure out that doesn't match up with the curve calculator at all. It doesn't match. So everything that we're looking at in their religion is that it must be loomed up from beyond the curvature of the Earth. And it doesn't matter how many times you do this and repeat the observation, everything is being loomed up in proportion. So even if you had microscopic temperature gradient differences over 10, 20 miles. Now, where I live, I know it can be raining in Preston and it can be clear as day where I am. That's only 20 miles away. The P900, when I'm zooming in at Barrow, I can be looking at an expanse of 10, 15 miles. So there is going to be temperature gradients. If that's the case, if there was some kind of looming going on, in their opinion, which is this heat looming that can lift the light around the curvature of the Earth, then it does it in gradients. So if you've got a slightly cooler temperature in one location and a slightly warmer temperature in another, then you should see different gradients. What I'm capturing is not the case. It's literally uniform every time that I'm filming. So if it's uniform, it cannot be being affected by the temperature gradients, which means that it isn't looming.
You know it would be awesome if you could do one of your observations, right? And then get in a boat, and while having that observation in view, get in the boat and go towards it. A lot like the way Rob Skiba did with Chicago, because I mean, as far as I know, if something is looming up and coming behind the curve, right? If you've got it in frame and it's not really there when you're in the boat and you're going towards it, it should at some point disappear, right? And then the real one should start coming up behind the curve, right? Because I think that's what Rob Ski was trying to prove. Like, that's not a mirage. Chicago is not a mirage because he had it in view the whole time.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
So wait a minute, I got a this whole looming thing. I've heard it before from like Red's Red, but I'm just searching. I'm googling it right now, and it does not seem that looming fits in any sort of scientific source.
I wonder if it's just because of what's going on in our discussion, is that they had to create a new description of a phenomenon that didn't exist before. It was never brought up before.
Apparently,
I think that's what it is, because honestly, before Flat Earth, I never heard that buildings could actually be brought back from behind the curve and seen flat on the horizon. I didn't know that was a thing before I got into this. Even when I was a baller, I didn't hear that. I didn't know that that was a thing. Now, obviously, I don't do these kinds of observations with cameras and shit, but that seems crazy to me. So that seems like it might be something that was just kind of made up.
Sounds like a new BS that they're trying to get into their scientific.
But then, if that's the case, like that's the thing with Rob Skiba. Like, if that's the case, then when he had Chicago in his view, and he got in that boat, as he approached Chicago, right, that hologram, that mirage or whatever's being loomed up, that should at some point disappear completely, right? And as he goes further out, whatever the real building, the real Chicago, should at some point appear into the camera. It should start coming into camera. But the entire time, he had it in view.
So what you're talking about, Chocolate, is exactly the same thing that on the opposite side is you're simply applying logic to the construct that they're presenting. But from what I understand is that there's no basis for the looming principle. It's just simply the bullshit that comes out of their mouth when you say, "What about this?" And they just bullshit right then and then. Like, where were you last night? And I'm not going to tell you that I was out gambling or doing whatever. So then I just start bullshitting and spinning something that just doesn't make sense. And so then I go, well, wait a minute. If you were there at 2:00 in the morning, then how come you were, you know what I mean? So the whole looming thing is just a thought of explanation. It has no basis. There's no experiment. There's no justification. They don't have any documentation of it.
Yeah.
It's complete bullshit. So looming is the new gravity.
Nathan, am I presenting? Because I just want to try and
fallacy.
Right. Well, let me know when I'm presenting, guys. Because I can't see the YouTube chat, and I don't think Nathan's there. But if I am presenting, I'll talk you through what essentially is happening.
I can see an image. I see an image.
Am I on YouTube?
I think we're still on YouTube. I think
Still
Nathan.
on the right tower.
Am I being presented now? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a tower. It looks like.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Right. Well, what we're looking at, obviously, when you look at Blackpool Tower, for instance, when it comes up now. So let me pause this. Right. The height of the bottom of the tower that's lit up. So I think it's 120 feet. I'm pretty sure that it's 120 feet tall. Is the tower ballroom? Conveniently, that is where the curve calc should be from this distance, right? So when you look at the base of the tower, right, this base here, that is where the curve calcs say I should see curvature. Well, anything below that I shouldn't see, right? So the fact that I'm seeing these streetlights down here, and obviously I zoom into the concert, and in a moment I'll see the Ferris wheel. All this should be gone. Shouldn't see it, right?
And you know what? I was going to say one thing. If this was daytime, I bet you would see those steps.
Yes, but in daytime you get that refraction
it would depend on the atmosphere, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and at nighttime it settles down, so you don't get that distortion.
Yeah.
So when we see the concert that goes off and plays here underneath this part here, we'll see the concert playing there, right? Everything. If this is all being loomed, right? If all the bottom stuff is being loomed, right? Now I'm looking at the Blackpool Tower, and I'm seeing that the Blackpool Tower is in proportion. There's not a single part of that that isn't exactly how it looks on any image you can find on any. You could look anywhere you like, and this is exactly how you would see Blackpool Tower. So there's no cut, right? So if this is being loomed up, and then you've got this cut-off point where it meets reality, so this would be reality, obviously. We haven't got that cut. So essentially, that means that not just these lights at the bottom, but also the entirety of the tower to the very top is all being loomed up. Everything is being loomed up. And when we get to the Ferris wheel, this is the killer. Look at this. Do you believe that is this light? What you're looking at now is that Ferris wheel. Do you believe that is being loomed up around the curve? Look at all the lights going off on it. Look at it.
It looks like a firework, but anyway, I'm just saying it's a firework.
Yeah, but could you imagine?
It's being loomed up perfectly with the lights completely in function.
No, you can't let these asshats in this looming thing. I'm sorry, there's no. I just looked looming. There's no. It's in no scientific context. It's like looming about like a shady character. It's like it's doom and gloom. Same like gravitas, gravity, looming. What's with all this death, negative, dark terms they keep coming up with? Looming, gravitas, gravity.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for holding down the fort while I tried to get the computer to crash. And of course, making the debate possible. So with that, I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!